NBA All-Star Weekend is here. We talking about LeBron. We talking about Embiid. We talking about Giannis and the We talking about all of that. We getting into some football. Your boy is back in the house. But I got one big, very, very, very important question for my man, Mr. T, a.k.a. Big Perk, a.k.a. Pastor Perk. I got one big question. That's the most important question I can possibly ask. How cold is it in Cleveland right now?
Oh, so cold that you were scared to come out here? You ran from it?
Well, there's a problem, Perk. I got to be there tonight.
Have fun with that.
First takes in the house.
It's cold. It's cold.
All-Star Weekend is underway. We have the world's best on the world stage.
This is what they all came to see, so gotta give them a show.
A fadeaway.
Turns it off the glass. The All-Star of All-Stars.
Team LeBron here ready. It's time to go, baby.
For the win.
You back in good spirits as always.
I'm in the house.
Big Perk, ready to go. I see you fresh for All-Star Weekend, sir. Before I get into it, though, I understand you have a little bit of an issue with my boy here.
I do, Molly. And look, I listened to him on Countdown going on a rant about his New York Knicks. I just finished watching him on the Get Up going on a rant about the New York Knicks. Here's the fact of the matter, Stephen A. No one thought the Knicks were going to be good this year except for you and the Knicks fans. Listen, let me tell you why. Everybody got all hyped up when y'all got Evan Fournier and Kemba Walker. Do you know why Boston let them walk? Because they had front row seats of watching them play. We all know that Kemba Walker knees can't hold up the entire season. We all know that Evan Fournier shot almost 13 to 20% last year in the playoffs for the Boston Celtics. I don't know why y'all got excited. I don't know why y'all didn't realize the Eastern Conference got better, but no one expected or had high hopes for the New York Knicks this year except for you, Spike Lee, Fat Joe, and everybody else around New York. No one else around the country had hopes for the New York Knicks. So I don't know why you going on this rant like y'all had high expectations to move forward to the playoffs.
Would you like to retort, or do you want to just move on here?
He's supposed to be my brother.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be my brother. And this is what he does. I will say this, though, because I don't have much of a comeback from that other than to say this.
Okay.
They weren't supposed to regress to this point. They might have went home in the first round again, but they weren't supposed to regress to this point. The fact of the matter is the New York Knicks have been the biggest disappointment for me for this entire season. You got a coach ain't on the same page as management. You got the coach being stubborn and DNP and the dude in Cam Reddish when you got a one-legged point guard and a dude in Fournier that's bad every 5 games for the one good game he gives you. And this is with Derrick Rose on the injured list. And still in all, you're gonna think it's justifiable not to play people. So they're not on the same page. It's typical of a James Dolan team, and I'm utterly disgusted.
Listen, it's hard out here trying to survive in a hostile environment. I get it. Let's do this, people. They say the West Coast is the best coast, but the East Coast is the Beast Coast, where I'm from. And they also got some dogs like Joel Embiid, who got the best of the former MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo, putting up 42, 14-5 in Philly's 3-point win over Milwaukee. Giannis put up 32, 11-9. This win without James Harden, mind you. Embiid, how you living?
I'm playing at such a high level. I don't want to stop. I want to keep on going. I feel really good. I'm not going to just go and, not work or, take a couple of days off. Feel pretty good. So I got to keep going. And, I'm also excited to see, how we all look, together when healthy, and obviously James playing the next time we step on the floor. So that's going to be exciting.
All right, Big Perk, let's talk about this. Who's more likely to get to the finals, Embiid or Giannis?
Oh, I'm going with Joel Embiid, especially with the addition of James Harden. Molly, look, I keep telling people this. Joel Embiid is the most skilled center to ever play the game of basketball, okay? If Elijah Warren and Kevin Durant had a baby, you get Joel Embiid. That's how skilled he is offensively. And when you watched him last night, he did it in a variety of ways. You wanted him to go to the low block, he gives you that. You want him to give you the mid-post area, he gives you that. You want him to handle the ball between the legs, crossover, step back, he's going to give you that. And he's going to go out there and get you rebounds. And on top of that, he added James Harden, and everybody keeps saying, oh, I want to know how is it going to work. Let me tell you how it's going to work. He's going to get more easy looks. He's going to get pressure taken off of him because James Harden has done a great job of actually transitioning from just a pure out scorer to a guy that loves to facilitate for others. And so imagine trying to stop him and Joel Embiid in a high pick and roll when Joel Embiid have the option to dive or the option to pick and pop because James Harden put so much pressure on the defense. No knock on Giannis and no disrespect to the defending champs, but I'm going with the Philadelphia 76ers and the best duo in basketball when James Harden touched the floor for Philly and Joel Embiid.
Well, first of all, no disrespect to Joel Embiid or James Harden, who are two big-time players, but I got to see it to believe it. And until I see it, I'm not going to believe it. I'm going to roll with the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis Antetokounmpo. I would remind you, Big Perk, that you were a person last year that you talked about and alluded to Middleton being that dude for the Milwaukee Bucks. And I get where you were coming from. Don't get me wrong. I'm not throwing shade on that prognostication. I'm simply pointing out the level of respect that you have for Middleton. Mr. Mid-Range is what I call him because the brother's special. He didn't have a good game last night. Josh shot just 6 for 20. But in the end, we know what he's capable of doing. We certainly know what Drew Holiday is capable of doing. He's averaging 18 a game, shooting better than 50% from the field and better than 40% from three-point range. Middleton hasn't even gotten it going yet. And I think the elevation of Bobby Portis is something that we all need to pay attention to. I got to see Harden with Embiid. I know what Harden is by himself. I know the facilitator that he was last year. And I get all of that, and I understand it. And Joel Embiid would be my MVP, although we need to have a discussion a little bit later on, KP, as it pertains to Embiid or Jokic or DeMar DeRozan or CP3 when we talk about league MVP. So we're going to have that discussion later. But I'm just looking at Giannis right now and the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm thinking about the fact that they're the reigning defending champions. I'm thinking about the chemistry that they already have and how while everybody else has an obligation to try to figure things out, Milwaukee doesn't have that obligation. They've already handled that. They're the reigning defending NBA champions. And the nucleus of their team is still intact. Their coach is still their coach, et cetera, et cetera. So when I look at it from that perspective, I think that right now, I'm not saying it can't change, but I think that right now I have to give Milwaukee the edge because I got to see Harden with Embiid to believe in. And my last point, KP, is this. In Brooklyn, Harden was in screens, was in situations with screens, with pick and rolls and what have you, where you had guys like Claxton and Jones and others, and Blake Griffin and them setting these picks for him. They weren't looking for the ball. Well, Joel Embiid ain't going to do that. Joel Embiid expects the ball. And so because he expects the ball, it's going to be Tobias Harris that's going to have to find himself in additional situations like that. And it's going to be real interesting to see how that affects him, who's your secondary option. And now he has to relegate himself to the third option. You yourself, KP, has pointed out many times in the past to Kevin Love, to Chris Bosh's of the world, and others, how difficult it is and how much those guys should be applauded for adjusting to being a third option. These are the kind of things I'm looking at when it comes to the Philadelphia 76ers. That's why I'm giving Milwaukee the edge at this particular moment.
Well, let me address something to you. When it comes down to being one of the best offensive-minded coaches in the game today, is Doc Rivers. That's why we're seeing the best version of Joel Embiid. When it comes to making it work offensively, Doc Rivers gets it done. Let me tell you the best thing that happened to Doc Rivers was that Dave Yeager was able to come back off of being sick. We know that he's one of the top, right under Tibbs, right under my guy Ron Adams from Golden State for us defensive-minded coaches. That's what Doc need. That's why you had that combination of Tom Thibodeau and Doc Rivers when they was together with the Celtics. Now let me address you a couple points about what you brought up as far as the Chris Middleton situation. The reason that I was calling Chris Middleton that was because they had the facts to back it up last year before Giannis elevated his game in the finals.
Right.
Yeah, Chris Middleton was the guy in the fourth quarter that was closing the games for him.
I got you.
And that's why I was calling him the Batman. I know. I know. This is for all the other fools out there in the world that, just couldn't comprehend and see it at my level. But I will say this. Chris Middleton struggled yesterday, Stephen A., because of a guy by the name of Thibault, okay? And the reason he struggled is because Thibault is arguably the best defensive wing player in the game today.
Yeah.
Okay,
No
so
question.
when you have Tyrese Maxey and you have Danny Green, Danny Green is a guy, he may not come when you want him, but he's always on time. So I'm looking at this Philly roster, and I'm looking at what they did to Milwaukee. Milwaukee role players are not that damn impressive to me, by the way. Covington is out right now. I don't know what you're gonna get out of Grayson Allen. So when I'm looking at these guys, I'm like, hold on, the interior defense is not there. Brook Lopez is missing. I'm like, hold on now, Embiid is there. I don't know if Giannis can handle that workload for a 7-game series at the center position.
Well, we're about to find out, and you also got to remember. Again, I'm pointing to their championship pedigree. I'm pointing to their continuity, and I'm pointing to the question mark that is Harden with Embiid in terms of what they can do together. We'll see, But you already got them as the dynamic duo, and I'm saying that's as individuals playing together. We're going to find out. We don't have to find out much about Milwaukee because we know what 3 they're going to rely upon.
So right now, SA expects to be in Milwaukee in June, more so than the city of brotherly love.
No, I give Milwaukee.
Yes, that was the question. Who's more likely to get to the finals?
Between those two.
Yeah, you didn't
but that don't mean I don't think that the Brooklyn Nets can knock them off.
I said then the city of brotherly love. You pounced right in there. You couldn't even handle that. Let a girl finish her thought. Come on. It takes about 5 seconds. All right, let's keep rolling, guys. We go to the West. The hits keep coming for the Los Angeles Lakers. 16th month removed from winning a title. The big 3 will have to be a big 2 for the next month as Anthony Davis sidelined for at least 4 weeks with a mid-foot sprain. The good news, X-rays showed no fracture. So here's how things stand for the purple and gold at the moment. The Lakers currently sit 9th in the West, still in contention for the play-in tournament. Coming out of the break, LA has the toughest remaining schedule, tied with the Bulls and the Dubs. Keep in mind, heading to the season, this team was favored to be in the finals with Brooklyn. Quite the departure, Stephen A. So who will look the worst if the Lakers miss the playoffs?
Well, to me, I got Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook there. Russell Westbrook, because of the turnovers and because of the kind of season that he's had with his struggles, along with his inability to really develop a perimeter shot. That hasn't helped the Lakers. It hasn't helped LeBron. It certainly hasn't helped Russell Westbrook's reputation. Even though I still believe in the brother. Just attack the basket and give up the damn jump shots. Don't shoot too many of them. Just attack the basket like I think he's been doing as of late because I think he's been playing better. In the case of Anthony Davis, here's why I throw him in there. I know that these are legit injuries. He's fragile. That makes him unreliable. And when you know that that is your situation, the one thing that we have to pay attention to is just simply asking the question, Big Perk, because I don't know the answer to this question. You and I both know what we hear. But the question that you have to ask is, do you do, and that's not bringing the legitimacy of his injuries into question at all. But you do have to ask, do you maximize everything that you bring to the table from the standpoint of you being in peak condition and ready to go? There are people in the NBA that have repeatedly looked at Anthony Davis, and not just his injuries, they've asked, is he in shape? Is he ready to go? Does he understand who he's playing with and how ready he needs to be in order for these Lakers to be relevant? And on far too many occasions, that question has repeatedly been asked. I don't definitively know the answer to it. Sometimes I look at him and I question his conditioning, KP. Other times I look at him and I say, well, he's gotten bigger, and he needed to, because obviously you got people in the league who felt they could push him around and that just get physical with him and he'd crumble, and that was a stigma he was trying to erase. So he might have just gotten bulky, and he might not be as out of shape as people have accused him of. But it has been an accusation and an allegation that's been thrown in his direction. And because of that, combined with the way LeBron James looks, 37 years of age, 19th year in the league, averaging 29 points a game when he's a career 27-point per game scorer. I mean, the other night, he just went into his bag and took over in the fourth quarter. Couldn't say enough about it. The fact that he can't rely on Anthony Davis for whatever reason is an indictment against Anthony Davis.
You know what, Stephen A? I was going to come on here and I was going to point the finger at a certain player. And then I had to think about it. I'm going to point the finger at Rob Pelinka. That's who's going to look the worst. That's who's going to look the worst. One is because first he allowed, instead of doing his job and manning the hell up, he allowed the players, meaning AD and LeBron James, to dictate this roster in the first place. Okay, and then here comes the trade deadline. And you make no moves at all. No. You stand still and tell the world we're just going to wait for the buyout market. It's no damn buyout market. All the groceries are gone. So at the end of the day, I'm blaming Rob Pelinka because then you go and you tell the world that, yeah, we sat down and we talked. I talked with the players and we all decided not to make moves. That's a damn lie. That didn't happen. So I blame Rob Pelinka for not saying, hey, no, LeBron, Anthony Davis, I got this. Let me get this together. Because the fact of the matter is they took Caruso for granted. They took Caldwell Pope for granted. They took Kyle Kuzma for granted. And they listened to what LeBron James and Anthony Davis had to say. So as bad as I want to come on here and say Russell Westbrook need to play better, and you're right about Anthony Davis, he hasn't got his body in physical shape, which I don't have no clue why not when you have LeBron James and Dwight Howard in your locker room.
That's right.
So I'm going to put the blame on Rob Pelinka.
Yeah. White House is in shape.
He stays in shape.
He stays in shape. You know, he brags about his flat board stomach all the damn time. Yes, I'm jealous. The point that I'm trying to make is this, okay? I think I can trump you since you want to go beyond the players, KP. I think I can trump you on the Rob Pelinka thing. And the person I can blame is the wonderful Jeannie Buss. And guess why I can blame Jeannie Buss if you want to go there. Who allowed Rob Pelinka and other people in business affairs, along with Linda and Kurt Rambis, to get in the way of Irvin Magic Johnson, annoying him so much that he said, to hell with this, I'm out, a couple of years ago, which left them to the mercy of the Rob Pelinkas and the Rambises of the world. That would be Jeannie Buss. She's the board of governor. She's the one in control. And I love Jeannie. But the point is that one could easily make the argument that the person, as it strictly pertains to basketball operations, you should have stood side by side with Irvin Magic. I know she loves him. I know she loves him to death. She still communicates with him. He certainly loves her to death. No question about it. But what I mean with that statement about Jeannie Buss is you should have done everything in your power to make sure that nobody interfered with basketball operations. No, whatever Magic wanted, strictly as it pertained to basketball operations, you should have left him alone. Nobody had any business interfering with him. Because guess what? With what KP just said, with LeBron James, Anthony Davis, you could come to Magic with suggestions as to what needs to be done.
Yeah.
But they weren't going to tell Magic Johnson what to do because they trust that Magic Johnson knows what to do. And Magic Johnson, all right, got LeBron. LeBron was coming anyway, but he got LeBron. And then after that, okay, he facilitated AD getting there. And then if y'all remember, he had Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi was coming to the Lakers, not the Clippers. He's coming to the Lakers if Magic Johnson was still there. But that didn't end up happening. And I'm not saying you necessarily needed Kawhi Leonard. I'm simply saying when you talk about a roster, you don't allow a Rambis of any name. Kurt, Linda, I don't give a damn what other name you could come up with. If they're Rambis, you can't allow them to supersede Magic Johnson. You can't allow Rob Pelinka, a former agent to supersede Magic Johnson in any way. Magic Johnson, I'm telling you what I know, departed because people got in his way and annoyed him. And when you are Irvin Magic Johnson, you don't need to be annoyed. You don't have to tolerate that.
Yeah.
Well, Molly, Stephen A., can I say this? Can I say this? Can we flat out be done with the Lakers talking about them? Let me tell you why. Their season is over with, okay?
Are you sure,
it's more than 40.
I don't know. I'm not ready to say over, but you know a lot more than I do.
Molly, the season is over with, okay? Their season is over with. Let me tell you why. They had one expectation and one expectation only, and that was to win the championship. They're not going to do that. They're going to probably get into the play-in tournament, get into the 8th or 7th seed, and get bounced by the Suns or the Golden State Warriors. And
what we said is, I think they get to the playoffs and they're going home in the first round. But I don't think they're finished, meaning they're going to miss the playoffs. And here's the answer to your question. And here's the answer to your question. You know why we can't be finished talking about the Lakers? Because if we're being respectful, do we just summarily dismiss LeBron James? I mean, come on, man. The brother is 37 years old in his 19th year and averaging 29. He deserves to be talked about.
We got to move on, but real quick, you weren't here yesterday, but did you guys see Jay Will brought this up, that LeBron, I know we're getting a little petty here, though, but he liked how Les Snead, do you see the post? Les Snead had a Les Snead T-shirt on, and he said, F them picks. Basically, they went all in. They won the title. LeBron retweeted it, said, that's my kind of GM, and Jay was arguing that was shade at Rob Pelinka.
I don't know.
It probably was.
I mean, maybe it was. Who knows who knows with Jay Williams? He's a very cerebral individual, very intellectual individual. I mean, he could have meant anything with what the hell he's saying.
I'm talking about when LeBron retweeted it, not Jay Williams.
There's a method to Jay Williams.
Oh, my.
Who knows what the hell he meant and why he brought that up. It could be anything. It could be anything.
Taking everything in the wrong direction here. All right.
Jay Williams.
Big Perk will be back with us, much more with him. Guys, it's very unlikely Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers will be playing in San Francisco next fall, but it's a scenario that 49ers legend Steve Young believes acquiring Brady or Rodgers is something the 49ers can't pass up on if it's actually on the table. Hall of Famer Steve Young, the floor is yours.
Remember, I said you have an owner, you have to have a general manager, you have a coach, you have to have the help on the field. What's the number 1, 2, 3, 4 teams in the league that have that? And the 49ers are right there. Like, if I'm Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or anybody, I want to be here. I want to be there. Like, this is the place. So if I'm going to be in the NFC and I'm going to pick one of the 16 teams that's ready, the 49ers are that team. So if you ask me that question, what I think about Tom Brady for one more year or Aaron Rodgers for a couple, 3 years, this team could go win 3 Super Bowls.
Look who's here. Sam Macho was a real troublemaker yesterday with those quarterback rankings. I'm never letting you live those down. Twitter going insane. But, Acho, I'll start with you. Great to have you, as always. Is Rodgers better off in Green Bay or San Francisco?
I still like Green Bay. Now, of course, according to Steve Young's comments, of course, San Francisco, great defense. Of course, San Francisco, great front office, all those things. 9th ranked overall defense. But I'm thinking about this. You got, number one, a 4-time MVP, but more than that, like, you get a chance to rewrite history. This is a team that has beat you 4 straight times in the playoffs. You are 0-4 against the San Francisco 49ers, right? For whatever reason. You've been dominating everybody else, but 0-4 against them. And in all reality, at least this last game, it wasn't really your fault, right? Like, you had a field goal blocked right before halftime, number one, and then you're up 10-3 in the fourth quarter with 4:51 left. Then you get a punt blocked that scores and ties the game. And so for me, I feel like, man, sure, you can go to San Francisco. Sure, you could take the easier route, because I think it would probably be an easier route if we're just being honest and transparent. Or you could rewrite history and be like, hey, this team that passed up on me in the 05 draft, number 1 overall, the team that I grew up watching, grew up idolizing some of its players, right? The city, right? I grew up 138 miles away from it. I went to Green Bay, I didn't beat them 4 times, and then I came and rewrote history in the 5th time or even the 6th time, however much longer you want to play. And so for me, when I'm talking about this story, I would prefer to see Aaron Rodgers stay in Green Bay and rewrite history as opposed to go what I would call the easier route to a team like San Francisco and win there.
He's been in Green Bay since 2005, bro. He hasn't been to the Super Bowl since 2010. The hell you mean rewrite history? History is etched in stone. Ain't no rewriting history. You know what I'm saying? You can't erase the last 11, 12 years he failed to get back to a Super Bowl. You can't erase the fact that Tom Brady came at Lambeau Field and beat him, and then after that, Jimmy Garoppolo did. Even though you're right, it wasn't really his fault, but still, I'll tell you what was his fault, that you could only put up minimal points. I mean, what the hell are we talking about here? I mean, what are we talking about? I'm just looking at it and I'm saying, what are we talking about? The fact of the matter is
Stephen A.
What?
Stephen A., you said you can't rewrite history, and I would only my pushback, my dispute, my response would be this. Just a few weeks ago with Matthew Stafford's career, we talked about his history. Couldn't play in the big game, couldn't make it in Detroit, yada, yada, yada. Yet in 1 year, Matthew Stafford, in whatever way, he rewrote history. Now there's different conversations that Matthew Stafford is a part of. These are different echelons for whatever reason.
Acho, that makes no sense.
For whatever reason. So history can be rewritten.
Hold on, bro. Matthew Stafford was in Detroit. It's football purgatory. Organization's trash. We all know that. We wish nothing but luck for Dan Campbell because he seems like a really good guy, very energetic and whatever. Had them playing hard and competitive for most of the season. I get all of that. But at the end of the day, it's Detroit. We don't expect much from them. We understand. And I'm not talking about the city. I'm talking about the team, okay? We don't expect much from them. The franchise is the franchise. We know how horrific they've been. We know there's a reason they haven't won a playoff game since the early 1990s. We understand that. We understand the level of ineptitude and futility. We get all of that. That wasn't the expectation with Green Bay. Would it be nice if Aaron Rodgers came back, stayed in Green Bay, ultimately got to the Super Bowl in 1 year? We'll talk about him. Congratulations, you're a Super Bowl champion. Basically, you did what you should have done at least a couple of times over the last 13 years, 12, 13 years or so. But going to San Francisco, I'm going to tell you the number one reason he should go. Kyle Shanahan. That's the number one reason he should go. Kyle Shanahan is something special. Now, listen, I'm a bit reticent about him in the fourth quarter Super Bowls, but that's it. Everywhere else, I gotta love what I'm seeing from Kyle Shanahan. I think Kyle Shanahan has proven to be one of the best coaches in football, to be quite honest with you, one of the best offensive play callers. When I think about Deebo Samuels, an absolute stud. When I think about George Kittle, one of the top 2 or 3 tight ends in all of football. Devontae Adams is that guy. I get all of that, okay? And I'm not trying to say that Green Bay doesn't have a good situation, but we know their history. And sometimes you need a new setting. Sometimes you need some new flavor. Sometimes that new flavor is old flavor. You went to Cal, you come back, you go back to the Bay Area, okay? You go back to familiar surroundings. You're a 45-minute flight from Southern California, on off days.
Does make a lot of sense.
You good. I mean, when you look at it, and not only that, their defense, these brothers were boasting them. They get to the quarterback, man. They get to the quarterback. I'm telling you right now. They win an NFC championship game with Jimmy Garoppolo as their quarterback. Jimmy Garoppolo. I'm sorry. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I give this strong consideration without question.
Well, absolutely, you give it consideration. Coming from the dude who loves L.A. so much and who wants to go and get his tan on, I get it. I respect it. You want to be in L.A., you want to be in Cali.
You're damn right.
On the West Coast, I understand that.
That's right.
And I don't blame you. I don't blame you whatsoever. But all those pieces, including the coach, right? You got Kyle Shanahan, but you also got Matt LaFleur. You have 2 MVPs back-to-back with your current coach. You have Devontae Adams, who's a top receiver. You could argue Deebo Samuel. You have George Kittle, unbelievable tight end. Robert Tonyan in history has had some really good years. I'm not going to try and compare him to George Kittle by any means. I'm just saying you have pieces. Aaron Jones is one of those pieces as well. So I think it's matches on a lot of different ways, right? I think it matches. And of course, you could go and take, I would call it the easier route, like you're asking him to do and say, go to San Francisco. It is easier.
How is it easier? How is it easier?
It's easier because that's a team that's beat you 4 straight times in the playoffs. That's how it's easier. So if you can't beat them, join them. That's how it's easier. So, hey, I couldn't beat you 4 times in a row. I'm going to join you. For me, I call that an easier route. I think the harder decision is to stay where you're at. I'm not saying it's the better one. It's the harder one to stay where you're at and say, you know what, we got to figure this out organizationally. Bring in the guys that I want.
But
we just had a coaching change.
The Packers do have the second worst cap situation. They have the second worst cap situation, and Devontae is a free agent.
Situations can be figured out very easily. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Sam, here's the deal. If you're Aaron Rodgers, you talk about it being a better situation. You know, I mean, are we sure? I mean, when you look at San Francisco and what they have on both sides of the ball, and you combine that with the coaching that they have, I'm saying to you, I mean, I don't think San Francisco's the easy route. They may be your kryptonite in terms of what they've done for you the last 4 times you've played them. But we've walked into games knowing that Green Bay was the better team. They just lost to that team. But Green Bay was the better team. So I don't consider San Francisco, quote unquote, the easy way out. I just think that having Kyle Shanahan as your coach with a Kittle and a Deebo Samuel to rely upon and a defense you can lean on with DeMeco Ryans leading the way, I think that, San Francisco would be a very viable spot to land in. And I think he'll be much happier there than Lambeau Field.
All right. Sam, we're going to...
I'll just say this quickly. Yeah. Quickly. It just sounds like Matt LaFleur isn't that dude. And I think Matt LaFleur, historically speaking, has been that dude. So Kyle Shanahan, yes, phenomenal coach. But LaFleur, same exact echelon.
Really? Really? What would LaFleur be without Aaron Rodgers? What would LaFleur be without Aaron Rodgers?
What was Bill Belichick without Tom Brady? I mean,
they made the playoffs this year. Excuse me. They had to win a season this year with a rookie quarterback.
They lost to the division. The last two.
I'm saying they went to the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. With a rookie. Are you comparing Matt LaFleur
they've been losing that division.
to Bill Belichick?
Buffalo couldn't win until Tom Brady left. That's all I'm saying.
Gentlemen, I know it's getting spicy, but we're up against it. I let you go as long as I could.
Me. I think Sam's a bit lost.
You should. Let's get right into it. LeBron's agent and longtime friend Rich Paul had interesting comments to The Athletic recently, saying the road for LeBron was just as hard, if not harder, than the road was for Michael for a number of reasons. And I think the biggest reason is everyone wants you to do something the way somebody else did it previously. LeBron was a kid. The media wanted LeBron to be like Mike. They wanted Michael to speak to them in any capacity, which he probably didn't. They wanted Michael to be his friend, which he probably wasn't. They also wanted LeBron to be like Michael, and he was not. Okay. Big Perk back here with us. Perk, tell me this. Do you agree that LeBron's road was more difficult than Michael did?
You damn right I do, and for a number of reasons. Look, it's not just because of the generation in the league being soft. At the end of the day, Michael Jordan didn't have no pressure coming out of North Carolina, high expectations for him being where he got to. LeBron James did. LeBron James was set up to fail. And by the way, LeBron James actually had to go through a lot of Hall of Famers to get what he had to get accomplished. We have to remember, he did play in the era with Kobe and Shaq. He did play in the era with Dirk Nowitzki, Kevin Garnett. The list goes on. So at the end of the day, look, I'm not taking anything from MJ, but let's not act like what LeBron had to overcome to get where he's at today. Oh, it's not even close when we talk about adversity, okay? It's not even close when we talk about the word pressure. Pressure. Jordan wasn't the number 1 pick. LeBron James was. Jordan wasn't on the cover of Sports Illustrated labeled the chosen one. LeBron James was. So just the word pressure alone, man, please, let's stop it. Stop it.
First of all,
stop it.
First of all, Rich Paul need to be drug tested. And damn it, so do you. Y'all have lost y'all damn minds. You got to be crazy when you talk pressure with LeBron. Just the pressure. Just stop it, okay? I'm not trying to act like the brother didn't have pressure, whatever. But what about the pressure that was self-inflicted because you wanted to wear number 23? What about the pressure that was inflicted because you said that you were the chosen one? Now, in fairness to LeBron James, he has more than lived up to it, and he deserves his props. But we act like we see this, and I'm not going to even say you act like it because you look like you're a big boy, you look like a passing officer, but you're still a young pup. You might not know. So let me remind you of the state of the NBA. Okay, once upon a time, early 80s, you had to take over your commissioner, David Stern. God rest his soul. At the time, you got to take over the NBA. Got a lot of nonsense going on in the National Basketball Association. Jordan comes in 84. He was the number 3 pick. Now, Olajuwon went number 1, and Sam Bowie went number 2. The Portland Trail Blazers will never be forgiven for making that mistake, which explains why they've never won a title since that time, because that's how awful of a decision that was. Jordan comes into the league and instantly sets the league on fire, letting everybody know it's a new era, it's a new day. What happened at that time is Magic and Bird are the faces of the National Basketball Association. It's showtime against blue-collar stuff. MJ comes along and essentially individualizes the sport because its individual greatness shines so brightly. But keep in mind, you had the Philadelphia 76ers with Moses Malone, Julius Erving, and the crew. They won the title in 83. You had the Twin Towers in Houston with Olajuwon and Ralph Sampson. You had the Boston Celtics, who were perennial powers. The bad boy Pistons had really busted onto the scene and was trying to interrupt the proceedings. And then you saw how physical they were. They had to invoke Jordan rules, for crying out loud. There was hand checking. There was a level of physicality, the kind of stuff that'll get you banned from the league right now. They tried to do to Michael Jordan on a night-to-night basis. The game was considerably more physical. The road to prosperity was far more difficult. There were nemesis all over the place because of the rules allowing you to impose your will to a superior talent, because the NBA was allowing you to get away with it, which was endangering the popularity of the sport because people were turned off by the excessive physicality that folks were witnessing. This is the era that Michael Jordan had to go through. And by the way, let me not forget the Cleveland Cavaliers. We try to sleep because Michael Jordan put them to sleep. But remember Mark Price and Brad Daugherty and all of these other, Larry Nance and all of these boys. These brothers could play. I'm just telling you, it was tough everywhere you turn, and the game was physical. LeBron comes in. By the time LeBron comes in, you could sit up there and get a technical foul for passing gas. I mean, you could barely do it. The level of physicality didn't even compare. Don't give me that.
You are so wrong. You are so wrong and no close to being right now. First of all, let me give you a history on my. Let me give you a history on my background. I know about Jordan. I had the box TV with the clothes hang on the back where I had to adjust it to make sure that I could get a clear view.
We brothers, we all did. No question.
I was raised by my grandparents, so I watched Jordan, okay? But let me tell you something. When you're talking about rule changes that happened about 5 years ago, Stephen A.
No.
LeBron James has been in the NBA in over, 18 years?
There was a multitude of rule changes that took place in the game.
I came in 2003 where it was still a level of physicality. Are you going to sit up here and tell me? I didn't say it wasn't physical at all. Are you going to sit up here and tell me one of the greatest defensive teams of all time, the 2004 Detroit Pistons, were Ben Wallace, Rasheed Wallace, Chauncey Billups, those Rough Riders? You going to tell me they were soft, or you going to tell me
I'm not saying they were soft. I'm not saying they were soft.
Hold on.
But they weren't the bad boys. They weren't the bad boys.
No, we was doing physically. We was doing hard fouls. We was doing hard fouls. It was a no layup rule.
Comparable to what Michael Jordan had to go through.
Hold on. Are you going to tell me? Do I have to remind you of guys like Reggie Evans? You know who Reggie Evans is,
yes,
right?
Yes, I do. I know he was no Alvin Robinson. I know he was no Maurice Lucas. I know he wasn't a few guys.
You don't want to see him in a dark alley. Man, look, okay, Oakley was the same thing as a Reggie Evans. You just stand up for Oakland because he played for your Knicks.
A Reggie Evans, Oakland.
I'm talking about.
I love Reggie Evans, but come on now.
I'm talking about from a physicality standpoint, Stephen A. That's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you. So don't come here telling me about how soft the league was and all this. I was in the league with Tony Delk, Eric Williams, and all those guys. Gary Payton was still in the league when me and LeBron James came in the league.
Let me be respectful. I am not saying that the league was soft. I'm saying that the league was softer than what you had to endure in the 80s into the 90s. That's what I'm saying. It was softer. No. I'm telling you, it was absolutely. You need to talk to some Hall of Famers, Kendrick Perkins. You need to talk to them. You need to talk to them. I'm telling you that they're gonna reach out to you. They're gonna reach. No.
You think I was soft?
Okay. First of all, I would never say that. That's number one. Number two, I'm not calling anybody soft. I'm saying that it was softer. Not soft at all, just softer than the previous era. You were allowed to get away with muggings.
Okay, Stephen A., just because you was allowed to fight, okay, cool. But I want you to go back and I want you to watch the series of LeBron James and all the hard fouls that he had to take when he went up against Gilbert Arenas and Caron Butler and them when they was with the Washington Wizards. Matter of fact, I want you to go back and watch when he had to go against us in the 08 Celtics. See, this is the thing that you fail to realize. When you start naming names like, Dan Marley, when we look at who Jordan had to go through, Clyde the Glide,
Ewing,
when we
Mason,
look at guys
Oakley,
like
all of those cats, Xavier McDaniels, this physical dude, physical sport.
But they never seen a 6'10" freight train coming through. They never seen nothing like LeBron James, big broad shoulders, ready to tap.
That's fair. That's fair. And I'm not refuting that. But there's another thing I want to talk about when you brought up pressure. LeBron James came, advent of social media and beyond. Everybody's got a voice, people saying whatever it is they're saying, putting a lot of pressure. How about Jordan from the standpoint that Magic and Bird is fading, and Jordan as an individual had the pressure on him to uplift the sport, to keep people, to make sure that you generated a level of popularity to elevate the NBA so you could be in their living rooms every day and you could embrace people like LeBron James and others who deserve to be embraced. There's a different kind of pressure. Like when we talk about Muhammad Ali, we don't call Muhammad Ali the greatest just because of what he did in the ring.
Do this.
We call him because of what he had to go through.
Let's get into a commercial break. I promise we'll get into a commercial break, and I promise we'll bring this back. There's more to do here. We will address this in just a bit. I promise you, you have my word. Okay? Around the world, all eyes on the East Coast. Who has more on the line now that pressure is mounting? Is it Philly or Brooklyn? Obviously, today night we discussed that, plus Miami, Philly, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, Boston. Am I missing anyone? The East stacked. Who is the best team right now? That answer might surprise you, and that's where we start. All eyes on Brooklyn in Philly after that trade heard around the world in the most prolific offense in NBA history that never really was. Cut short due to the trade of James Harden for Ben Simmons. Joel Embiid having an MVP season in Brooklyn, hoping Kyrie can be full-time in the playoffs if mandates are lifted. Commentators saying both teams got better in the swap. So with that being said, both those squads know it's go time. Here's Steve Nash and Doc Rivers.
We're excited. We have 22 games to kind of come together as a team with Kevin returning, Ben returning. Hopefully we get a good run of health where we can really build something in a short period of time and get a better seed and also more cohesion going into the playoffs.
One thing that with the later All-Star break does, when you come out, it's a sprint. It's no longer a midway point. You ease back into the break. It's full sprint when you come back.
Big Perk, you know what it is. It's go time. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. The best time of the year for the NBA season. Do the Nets or the Sixers have more at stake after things get real post All-Star break?
I'm going with the Brooklyn Nets, and here's why. For the simple fact that, one, Kevin Durant still has something to prove, okay? They traded away Karis LeVert and Jared Allen, who, by the way, one of them is an all-star this year, in order to acquire James Harden. And all of a sudden, James Harden wasn't happy there. Now you let him walk. And now you're dependent on Ben Simmons, who we haven't seen play all season long, to bring a championship back to Brooklyn. Look, this is not no window where we're sitting up here saying the Brooklyn Nets have time and all this. No, they're just like the Lakers. They're expected to win a title this year. Now, on the other hand, with Philly, if they don't win a title this year, so what? They have a 3-year window. And some could say that, oh, well, James Harden, he's up for a certain amount of money and the extension. They don't know if Philly might give it to him because of his age. Philly is going to give it to him, damn it, because of him and Daryl Morey relationship. He's not going anywhere. And by the way, they also get an opportunity, if they don't win a championship this year, to find a way to get off Tobias Harris' big old contract and get somebody else in Philly. So when I look at the Nets and what they had to give up to get James and then give up to James to get Ben Simmons, the pressure is on them.
I throw no shade on your opinion in this regard, Perk. I just disagree with you. I just think that there's more pressure on the Sixers. Number one of the biggest reasons I believe that is that I believe this is going to be the Sixers' best chance to win the chip. I don't believe the Sixers will beat the Nets in the future. I think their best shot to beat the Nets and Milwaukee and teams like that are right now. I don't think their best shot comes later. That's number one. Number two, here's why the pressure is somewhat off the Brooklyn Nets. And I hate this. And you know, Perk, I hate what I'm about to say.
Don't say it.
That damn vaccine mandate. Because if Kyrie ain't playing the home games and stuff like that, then we got something to point to other than what actually transpired on the basketball court as an excuse. I won't like it. You won't like it. You know, we'll point to all different reasons. But at the end of the day, we know that if that mandate is not lifted in New York City by Governor Eric Adams, okay, we know that that's going to be a factor because Kyrie can't play home games. And that's the way it's like, you know, you look at Ben Simmons, you acquired Seth Curry and you acquired Andre Drummond. You still got KD. You're going to have Ben Simmons out there. You know, we don't know what issues he's going to have or not have or whatever the case may be. With the 76ers, it's all about basketball. Harden ain't got any issues. Embiid don't have any issues. Tobias Harris don't have any issues. Maxey doesn't have any issues. Thibault, one of the elite defenders in the game, arguably the best perimeter defender in the game, doesn't have an issue. You got Doc Rivers, who's got something to prove because even though he's a champion, your coach when y'all won the chip in 08, the bottom line is Doc Rivers has lost a few 3-1 leads in the postseason. There's some pressure there. Daryl Morey gave up a lot to get Harden because he was too transparent in his pursuit of Harden, and he didn't play poker, even though we all knew he wanted, because everybody and their mother knew that he wanted Harden. There's so much stuff there, but in the end, it all comes down to the Sixers. They're available. They're going to be on the court, and we get to look at them. Unfortunately, KP, if Kyrie don't get to play because of the mandate, we're going to have to look at that. And you know I hate that.
And see, Stephen A., this is a hard argument. I ain't going to lie. This is a hard debate, and nothing that you said was wrong. But I will say this. This is the part of the reason why the pressure is on the Brooklyn Nets. Because of the mandate, because of the history, the pattern of Kyrie Irving behavior. I'm not talking about the vaccination, people.
Right.
For y'all start trying to fire me up in my inboxes and mentions. I'm not talking about the vaccination. You know what I'm talking about, Stephen A. U.S. Capitol riot, take off, sister birthday party, take off, send them a message without even warning them, take off. My whole thing is, and I'm telling you this for the first time, did KD and the Brooklyn Nets actually trade the right person? That's the question. Did they actually trade the right person? This is why the pressure, and this is why I'm not giving them a pass. For the simple fact that They could have found a way to keep James Harden if they would have got rid of Kyrie Irving. We all know it wasn't a beef between James Harden and KD. The beef was with Kyrie Irving not being all the way in.
That's right.
So with that being said, if you pull the trigger, go ahead.
But here's where a monkey wrench gets thrown in your argument somewhat. You and I both know that James Harden originally wanted to go to Philly. It's just that Houston wasn't going to do business with Daryl Morey after he abruptly left them. And then a few weeks later, he's the president of basketball operations for the Philadelphia 76ers. They weren't going to let him get Harden, not on their watch. So if you Harden, you had to take a different route, and Brooklyn was essentially your consolation prize. So again, I get what you're saying as a player who's committed to playing, and you don't have to worry about too many distractions. Harden's the one to keep. The problem is, if Harden always had his eyes on reuniting with Daryl Morey, now it becomes a bit more problematic. You feel me?
I understand he's saying that now, but last year when he got to Brooklyn, remember the energy was totally different.
He was balling.
Remember it was scary hours. And let me bring you to facts real quick because I know Molly got to go to commercial break. She ready to cut us off, but you know this. How was those contract extensions was supposed to get signed, and what order? What order?
KD,
and who threw it off?
Harden and Kyrie.
And who?
You know what? That's such a great question,
and who threw
Kirk.
it off?
I'm really disappointed.
Harden.
We didn't think about that in the production meeting, and we haven't discussed that this week. You're right. That was a great question there by you.
That's right.
Really getting this TV thing down as a producer as well. Still to come on First Take, it's one of the greatest moments of the entire NBA. Heather Dinich, the college football playoff to stay at 4 teams for 4 more years through its current 12-year contract, which expires following the 2025 season. The 10 FBS conferences and Notre Dame have forfeited roughly $450 million in potential revenue by staying at 4 teams in order for the playoff to expand before the current contract expires. The 10 FBS commissioners and Notre Dame AD, Jack Swarbrick, would have had to unanimously agree on this. Stephen A. staying at 4. Are you pleased?
I'm not pleased. I think
Really?
that the playoffs. I think that the playoffs should expand to 8 teams, not 4. It shouldn't stay at 4.
Okay.
Because eventually, listen, we want the best teams in there, but we also want teams that aren't from the power conferences to get a shot. And when you look at it, especially I think Cincinnati, even though they lost in the playoffs this year, represented themselves pretty well. They didn't embarrass themselves. And I think that when you look at it from that perspective, they should extend it to 8 teams. But the thing that really confuses me, the FBS schools and Notre Dame forfeited in excess of $450 million.
Actually, yeah, 450
million. And then on top of it all, in order for them to change course and reverse their decision, through the duration of their contract, they would have to unanimously agree to do so, the 10 FBS commissioners in Notre Dame. I really need an explanation from those 10 FBS schools and Notre Dame. Why would you turn that down? It makes no sense to me. Why wouldn't you want 8 teams instead of 4? Why wouldn't you want the additional $450 million? I mean, it's just, I don't understand it. I mean, I got to read up more about it. We're just getting the news. So I'm not as edified on the situation as I'd like to be. Fair enough. But I'm just saying, you're forfeiting $450 million. And on top of it all, you're limiting it to 14.
Yeah, you feel like it limits the competition.
You got an 8-team playoff. I mean, that would be just as exciting. It'll be an additional week of football. Not to mention the fact that you get more money.
Maybe that's what it is. They don't think it'll be as exciting. I don't know. I'm surprised that money didn't drive the decision.
That's right.
That's where it's a little strange.
I'm stunned. I'm stunned right there. But, more power to them. Again, we need to see more teams than just the SEC and the Big Ten dominating the proceedings. Obviously, Cincinnati was in there, so they represented themselves well, just like I just said. But there's some other teams that could squeeze in there as well. You got an 8-team playoff. That's not a bad thing to have.
Sure. And great job by Heather on this. But, we need to read more on this for sure. But right now, let's get into the dunk contest that's happening this Saturday.
Of a star, they hear my name and remember me. He threw the candle out. Just let the record show that I said I'm coming for everything. I said I'm coming for everything. It's over.
Okay, this year's dunk contest participants include the Magic's Cole Anthony, Houston rookie Jalen Green, New York's own Obi Toppin, and Juan Toscano Anderson from the Warriors. Big Perk. Who do you have winning the dunk contest?
Yeah. You know what? I'm going with the big fella, Molly. I'm going with Obi Toppin. I think he's going to show up and show out. He's finally going to give New York a reason to actually stand up and be proud. So I'm going with Obi Toppin. I mean, we done seen him get on the fast break a few times and go between his legs like it was nothing. I think he got something special coming out, and I'm always rooting for the big guys. I think he gonna shine like new money.
You know who I'm picking? Want to hear who I'm picking? Because it damn sure ain't a Nick. I ain't going to be Obi Toppin. It ain't going to be a Nick. You know who I'm picking? Kendrick Perkins. You know who I'm picking? You ready for who I'm picking? I'm picking Vince Carter. I'm picking Michael Jordan. I'm picking Dominique Wilkins, okay? Hell, I'm picking Jason Richardson. All right, I'm picking Nika. I'm picking Tracy McGrady. I'm picking Kobe. I'm picking anybody but the current crop of NBA players. And look, man, look, listen. I long for the days. I mean, look, it's hard to take, man. It's hard to take. Let me tell you this. I will tell you this. A person, two people. Man. It's just the truth. I'm picking all of them cats, man. I just can't take it. I just can't take it. Jalen, really, this is a slam dunk All-Star weekend, and Obi Toppin and I mean Jalen Green. Listen, major props to them. They got bright futures, man. I'm not trying to throw no shade on them whatsoever. But when you think about All-Star weekend, these are the names. Juan Toscano Anderson, and I like him, and I think he's a big-time player that's going to help Golden State do something. Cole Anthony, the son of my brother Greg Anthony, nothing but love and respect for that kid, and who has a great promising future. But when you think All-Star weekend, and you just think stars, and there's no stars participating, it's a problem, and that's what I long for. Now, in fairness to these guys, I would tell you this. Aaron Gordon wasn't necessarily a star. Zach LaVine, even though I love that brother in his game, and I think he is a star, wasn't appreciated as a star a few years ago when they were in the dunk contest. But my God.
They put on a show.
They put on a
they
show.
Did.
I'm telling you right now, MJ, Dominique, Vince Carter, and we've seen so many dunks he did throughout his career. As it pertains strictly to the dunk contest, I challenge anybody to tell me they've seen dunks better than what Aaron Gordon did. Aaron Gordon, who, by the way, didn't win. And I thought he got robbed at least twice. He got robbed at least once or twice. Aaron Gordon is something special. And Zach LaVine with his dunks was special, too. These brothers, right, those two dudes,
okay, so
have
tell
some of
me
the greatest dunks in slam dunk history.
I get you showing them love, and I get the glory days, all of that, but who do you wish was in the dunk contest then this year?
Honestly speaking.
Players currently playing.
Honestly speaking, you got the cat at I'm sorry, I got brain lock right now. Bridges for in Charlotte, for the Charlotte Hornets. I like him, but I'm not going to lie to you, KP. You ever watch LeBron James in the layup line? In the layup line. You ever see some of the dunks that LeBron has done? Listen, LeBron James, we will miss him when he's gone. What we owe him as fans of the game, what he has done for the game of basketball in terms of keeping things afloat in the post-Jordan, post-Kobe era, I can't thank LeBron enough. Yeah, we might be critical, free throw shooting or a jump shot here or there, whatever. But this brother is something special on every level. But the one area where LeBron has robbed fans, is when he has never given the fans the opportunity to see him in a dunk contest. Okay. Because LeBron James, I agree, with some of his dunks that he shows out in a layup line. Yeah. Do you remember a couple of years ago when it was a big deal and you had people clamoring to the arena just to see LeBron James dunking the basketball in warm-ups? Yeah. That's how special he was. And he never once competed in a dunk contest, and it's the only thing that he has ever done that I felt his actions has cheated the game of basketball, not participating in the slam dunk contest. Nothing else.
Kirk, who would you want? If you could have any current player right now, who do you want in there?
Molly, Stephen A., guess what? My flight leaves at 6:15 a.m. in the morning, Saturday morning. I'm out. I can't deal with the weather. I'm out. But if one person, this one particular individual, was in the dunk contest, I would stay just to go and see him in it. And that's Ja Morant. When you talk about athleticism at its finest, when you talk about must-see TV, just think about the dunks that he give us in games. Yes. Just think about the missed dunk attempts that make highlight reels. Just think about all those. That's who I want to see in the dunk contest.
Totally right.
Lord have mercy. If he was in it, I swear I'd deal with the weather and everything. I miss the flight and I'll go home Sunday. But because he's not in it, I'm on the first thing smoking Saturday morning.
Brain fart on my part, that should have been the first name that I should have came up with.
Yeah.
Ja Morant. KP's absolutely right, but this cat Bridges for the Hornets, he's no joke either when it comes to dunking the basketball. Just ask Clint Capella about him. He still hasn't gotten nowhere. Clint Capella has never been the same. His game hasn't looked the same since he got dunked on like that by Bridges. It hasn't been the same.
I know we
got
to go to break, but why aren't players clamoring to be in the dunk contest?
I don't know.
What's the deal with it? It's such a big event, so many eyeballs.
It's just, you know, if you're not going to win or whatever. I will tell you this. Iguodala, when he lost the slam dunk contest to Nate Robinson, I remember he was disgusted about that, and he should have been because he should have won because Nate Robinson, God bless him, he missed like 14 dunks before he made the 15th, and then they had to change the rules and limit the amount of dunk opportunities you got. You can't give him the slam dunk title with all of those misses. But I'm just telling you, if just go to YouTube, go to the videos, go to the archives, and watch Aaron Gordon jumping over the mascot, doing a 180 in the air, jumping over the mascot and scooping the ball under both of his legs. Watch Zach LaVine behind the back and reverse slam. I mean, these are some of the greatest dunks we have ever seen in slam dunk contest history. And those brothers, I can't forget them.
I agree. And one other brother, like we know about Vince Carter. I think he changed the game with that 360 windmill. Okay? But let's not forget about Gerald Green. I mean, the guy went up there and kissed the rim with no shoes on.
No doubt.
Blew out a candle. You know, his creativity along with his athleticism.
There's levels to this, yes.
Yeah.
Only thing I would say is this. This is the only, and Vince Carter, we know how spectacular he was in the dunk contest in 2000. Here's what I would say about Vince Carter. He's the one guy. You saw better dunks from him in the game than you did in the slam dunk contest.
Oh, hands down.
In the game.
Yeah.
Best in-game dunker.
You saw better dunks from him than in the contest.
Best in-game dunker of all time. No disrespect to Dominique Wilkins, but of all time.
All time.
Insanity.
Without question.
And longevity.
Without question.
All right. So the former MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo, putting up 42, 14, and 5 in Philly's three-point win over Milwaukee. This win without James Harden. Let's take a look at the Eastern Conference standings. Marinate on this. The race to the top in the East is staying tight heading into the All-Star break. The Bulls and Heat are tied for the #1 seed with the next three teams all 2.5 games back of the lead. Stephen A. Smith. This is tough. This is tough. This is tough. Who do you like to come out of the East right now?
Right now, it would be the Milwaukee Bucks. I reserve the right to change my mind. Let's see how the season continues to unfold. But I think right now, again, when you have a championship pedigree, I think a lot of times people make this mistake. In UKP, as a champion, you would know this better than me. You win a championship, everybody's bringing their A game at you.
Yep.
Sometimes you show up in the regular season, sometimes you don't. Because when you taste championships, your priority is to be right back in the mix for that title. So whereas you got people prioritizing getting the #1 seed and elevating their level of play in January and February and stuff like that, you've got some folks that are working on things they know will help them as the season wanes and they're ready for April, May, and June. And I think there have been nights where I've seen that from the Milwaukee Bucks, where they weren't the team that I've seen them be. They're not the team that we're accustomed to seeing them be. But I look at Giannis, and I see him working on his three-point shot more and more because we know he can get to the hole anytime he wants to. I see the efficiency of a Jrue Holiday. I'm not ignoring that. I see Middleton struggling, shooting like in the low 40 percentile from the field and like 35% from three-point range. I don't expect that to last. I see those kind of things taking place, and it allows me to say if I had to bet my money right now, all right, and I'm not doing that because I still believe in Brooklyn, but I'm looking at Milwaukee right now and I'm saying they're not the team to sleep on because the biggest reason I feel so high on them is because I've seen not just what I talked about, but I've also seen Bobby Portis step up as well. And that's why I will go with Milwaukee for the time being, understanding that Philly, Brooklyn, and Miami are no joke, KP.
You know what? It's hard. And for the first time, like we could take 5, maybe 6 teams and really make valid points on why they could come out the East and not be wrong. But I'm going with the 76ers, and let me tell you why. One reason is this team that a few years back was in the Eastern Conference Finals and was Kawhi Leonard's shot that hit the rim 8 times away from actually advancing. Okay, that's that part. The growth of Joel Embiid and his skill set is the second part. The addition of James Harden is the third part, but the fourth part is the guy that I talked about earlier in the show, Tobias Harris. Now he doesn't have to be the second option no more. He could actually go to the third option, what is now is going to take pressure off of him, like what we're seeing happening to Andrew Wiggins down there in Golden State. Well, he don't have to worry about being the number 1 or number 2. He could play freely and have a guy that's not the best defender guarding him and be able to go out there and flourish well in his role. So when I look at this 76ers team who was only 3 games out of the first spot, and James Harden haven't even touched the floor with the emergence of Tyrese Maxey, I'm looking at them and I'm like, hold on. When it comes down to it, a guy that is capable of averaging 40 to 45 points in a series like Joel Embiid, able to take you home, no other guy except for Kevin Durant, in my eyes, is capable of doing what Joel Embiid is doing right now on the offensive side. So when you have this much offensive firepower, I'm rolling with Philly, and I haven't even seen them with Harden yet.
Well, I will say this. When you look at Milwaukee, they do defend. And, you know, particularly when you get Lopez back, you're going to have some big – you're going to have – well, listen, they've struggled this year. Like I said, I understand that. But they've stepped up when it counts. And they've got some big bodies that you're going to have to deal with. And, again, and this is what I think – and I want to throw this out there because I don't think people think about this enough. A lot of times we're thinking about a team over the course of 48 minutes. Well, KP, when teams are tight, when they've got talent and they're relatively equal with one another, then what you have to anticipate is I don't judge it according to 48 minutes. I judge it in key moments, who can do what? Who can do what on both ends of the floor to deliver the goods? I remember when I picked Brooklyn to win Game 5, lose Game 6, and then come back, I thought they would win Game 7. But I looked at Giannis, and I said, it's Game 5, Kyrie's down, James Harden's down. I said, KD dropping 50. 50. And they go on to win game. And he had 49 because he missed a free throw near the tail end of the game. But I just saw something like that because I'm like, it's the moment. And when I think about Milwaukee, and I'm just looking at a Miami, I'm saying you need your A game. I'm looking at Philly with Harden and Joel Embiid, you need your A game. I'm looking at Brooklyn because of the adjustments that they've had to make, and you're wondering about Kyrie and whether or not he's going to be available. I'm like, you got to bring all your horses. Milwaukee is the team that I'm sitting back not really concerned about in terms of their relevancy and whether or not they're going to be there. And that's where I'm at right now. It could change, but that's where I'm at.
No. But let me say this, and you talked about Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday. Congratulations to them both, NBA champions, won the Olympic gold, all that. That comes into play as well. Okay. And you see a lot of guys that sit out and that have those extended playoff runs, and they say, you know what, man, I decided not to go to the Olympics this year. You know why? Because they want to give their body rest. When you have to play for that extended period of time, it's a reason why Chris Middleton is struggling. And I'm a Chris Middleton fan. It's because, hey, that fatigue kicks in. Kicks in. But when we talk about closers, real quick, Stephen A., again, I'm going to remind you, the same trust that we all have in Kevin Durant is the same trust we need to have in Joel Embiid. because they both are on the same level offensively right now. And you got my Twitter post I edited you at, and you ignored me like I didn't send it to you. I edited you a video, and I need you to go check it out.
And that's how you know he's lying.
I didn't see it. I've been very busy.
No, I don't believe it. I know
well,
when his
go
lip
back and
starts
look.
to curl, it's lying. 6 years.
Hold on, I'm not lying. I didn't see it. I honestly didn't see it. If I saw it, I would have responded, thank you very much. You're going to get on national television and say I'm lying.
It looked like you were lying.
Molly. That's very rude. That's very rude.
You started
That's
to make the face.
I mean, that's not very nice. That's not very nice. I am not lying. I did not see Kendrick
Okay,
Perkins.
then I want you to respond to it right now in this commercial break.
Why?
Still to come on First Take. NBA All-Star Weekend is finally here.
That looked
LeBron,
cold.
Curry, Giannis, all the stars will be out on display, but there's one guy that Stephen A. wants you to keep your eye on. We'll be right back.